Cleaning Nation. My name is Mike Campion. I'm the host of the Growing Cleaning Company podcast here with Lindsay Bjorklund. We have been coaching owners of cleaning companies, thousands and thousands for a decade. And we are here today to answer your questions. Oftentimes, Lindsay has a theme, but today we've got a smorgasbord. There's a bunch of good questions that were not related that just have been falling through the cracks because we didn't have time. And I think today's just a catch-up day. So we're going to answer all manner of questions for you, Cleaning Nation. If you want to ask a question, just email support@growmycleaningcompany.com or join our Facebook group for free. Lindsay, who do we got first?
All right. First up, we had Grace. And P.S. I had to Google how to spell smorgasbord, or I can't even say it. I thought it was Borg. It's Borg. So it is Swedish in origin, like my married last name, but hey, I'm learning something new every day.
Yeah. Swedish. I thought that was from Colombia.
Right. All right. Grace, she emailed this in a while ago. And Grace, I'm so sorry I missed that, but this is what this episode is for. She said she was struggling with tasks she should delegate or scale when it comes to admin. Some examples she gave was replying to cleaners, sorting out the equipment, shopping for products, talking to vendors, helping with onboarding processes of clients and cleaners. And then here's her questions. How many positions do I need to make admin work? Should I be CC'd in every conversation these people have with the cleaners?
Man, that is such a broad question. I'm going to do the best I can to give a substantive answer in a reasonable amount of time without being able to ask Grace specific questions about her scenario. So globally, the big mistake we see people making is hiring a single VA or admin or ops manager, or whatever you want to call them, and giving that person way too much authority or responsibility without the systems or support to help them. So they think they're going to remove a bottleneck by hiring this person, and they end up adding another bottleneck. And I know this because we'll coach them and they'll go, I hired a VA usually for a decent amount of money X amount of time ago. And we ask, well, are you working more or less now? And it's almost always more or the same. So they're kind of doing the same thing. This person's just doing extra. So first and foremost, we want to make sure we've thought through, and that's obviously what we do for our clients, exactly what tasks need to be done, and then break them down into reasonable subcategories. So we coach hiring more people with a narrower scope. So as opposed to one quote unquote VA that just does everything. Basically, if we had to really write a job description, it would just be titled crap I don't want to do and haven't really figured out how to do well. And please, 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 other human, do them for me because I don't want to. So not in love with that. We'd rather give them a much more specific title. So she kind of asked what we did, and I'll give you a breakdown of what we typically recommend. First and foremost, we found most people don't have their cleaners doing enough. So they're like, oh, I'm doing all the rags. It's like, that's the cleaner's job. They should be cleaning the rags. We actually have the cleaners do the hiring and training and onboarding and checking each other's work. And we can't get into it all now, but systems underpin that. If you're like, how can I do that? Well, if you've got core values based people and you've got a hiring system that can be chunked down into small spots, small breakups, group interview, one-on-one interview, working interview, you can kind of assign a different cleaner to each one of those pieces. So no cleaner's in charge of the whole thing. And I can tell you, if you have 3 different people over 3 different places and 3 different times, talk with a candidate, the combined perspective of those 3 people is generally going to be better than yours, and you don't have to be a part of it. So the cleaners, first thing we do is expand the cleaner's role to the hiring, training, onboarding, checking each other's work. After you do that, first hire, we typically have you make as a scheduler. Then we'd have probably an accountant, then an answering service, and a customer happiness manager. And for residential, only a salesperson. And commercial, we typically have the owner continue doing most of the sales, not necessarily the measuring and job walks, but the actual selling. So there's a big overview, but the philosophy would be more people doing a more focused job than one person doing a more diffused job. So Lindsay would be hard to replace. She's done a great job of having other people in the team cross-train for her, but she'd be hard to replace because she does a lot of different things, which isn't necessarily ideal, right? If she was just like, she's our customer happiness manager, but that's a big topic, right? So we have other people, Bruno, and our direct message, if you go to Instagram and say, hey, you'll probably talk to Bruno. That's all he does. Just the direct message in the Facebook group and Instagram. That's it. So as great as Bruno is, I'm not trying to minimize the effort he does for our team. A little easier to replace someone, be like, here's a very specific job we want you to do. So we would encourage you to have, an accountant. If you have an accountant, that's all they do, pretty easy to do that. But if your accountant also does sales and a little bit of customer happiness and answers the phone, no one is good at all those things, right? So long story short, hopefully that's a good breakdown of who you need. But the big thing is you'd rather have more people doing a more focused job for less money. And it's okay if they're doing other stuff. Like each of those jobs I recommended with scheduler, accountant, answering service, customer service manager, salesperson, those all might be $300, $400, $500, $600, $700, $800 a month. It's not a big expensive deal. You're like, well, how can anyone live on that? They don't. Like if they're your accountant, they might be an accountant for someone else. If it's an answering service, they're a service. They have lots of clients. If it's your customer happiness manager, these all might be 5 or 10 hour a week jobs. So you can pay them less, easier to replace. It's okay if they have other jobs as well. That's kind of the vibe. Did you think I could go for 2 hours and I could go for like 30 seconds. I'm trying to get the right amount for Grace.
Gotcha, Mike. I guess my follow-up question I'm going to ask for Grace or someone out there in Cleaning Nation is when you hire all these different positions, how do you let go as an owner to trust those people so you don't have to worry about being like the go-between, say between your cleaners and a scheduler if you hire that person?
It's a great question. And there's several ways. One is setting expectations properly. If the goal is to grow fast and to get out of the day-to-day operations, you're just going to have to be okay that some things are going to go wrong and decide, is that tolerable or intolerable? Very few things are the employees going to do to completely ruin a company. So that foundationally expectations, like certainly we have to have some guardrails up, but just be okay for us to make this thing, the best way to never make a mistake is never do anything. So the bigger you get, the more mistakes are going to be made. So that would be foundational, just kind of belief set. Second, and probably the most important, would be core values match, right? Lindsay rarely, most of the time, does things better than I would do. I can't think of a time she did something I'm like, I wouldn't have done it that way. Probably a couple of times, but generally she'll come to me like, I might have thought about it this way and it didn't hurt anything or anyone. She was just spending more time, or maybe she was just making her own life more miserable. So it wasn't that it hurt anyone, but it's just because we have a core values match, right? Because she is as much someone that loves having fun, making money, being real and helping out as I am. I don't have to beat those into her or be like, all right, Lindsay, you got to help the customers and you have to be real and really, like, that's just who she would be without, I'd have to beat her to be different. And even then, maybe I could force her to do something while I watched her, but generally she's going to revert to who she is, which is someone that likes having fun, being real, making money and really helping out. So even if she does do something differently than she's not going to violate her own core values, which are also my core values. So I don't really have to micromanage because I'm hiring people that at a core share the beliefs that we have. And so the core values is probably the biggest piece of it. So I should have put that first because it really is foundational. Second would be understanding, Lindsay makes mistakes. I make mistakes. Our promise to our clients is not that we'll never make a mistake. It's that we'll always do the right thing and make it right. And, we'll make a good effort. And generally we do things really, really well. And when we make a mistake, we fix it. And then the third part is just having systems and processes. And coaching. So like when Lindsay first came in, I think he struggled for a little bit. She was just working too much and making it too hard. And she'll come to me. It used to be she'd come to me once every 2 or 3 weeks. And now it's feels like every 3 or 4 months with just, how do I do this? And I give her some coaching. She's super coachable and we just get on with our lives. So giving them the tools and systems that they need, and back checks, right? Like, it's not like I don't get to see clients or consistently tell me how much I love Lindsay. So I don't have to watch every client. And if I got someone that was unhappy or someone wrong, I'd be like, hey, Lindsay, what's shaking? This is super unusual. Tell me what's going on. So I guess just having systems and process or some sort of feedback loop, whether it's just natural because you're in your business or you have to put them on purpose, would be the third level. Second level would be just setting expectations that with your clients and with yourself and your employees, it's okay when people make a mistake. Don't lie, cheat, or steal. Don't violate a core value. But other than that, we all screw up. And then foundationally, just being really clear on what your core values are, attracting people that share those values, both with customers and employees. And just the things that we get upset about now, when you 10x your business, you won't even notice that. So just realize, like, some things I think are a big deal, aren't that big of a deal. It'll be okay. So is that, Lindsay, follow-up questions? Anything I missed or needs to be clarified?
I think that was good, Mike. That was super helpful. It kind of dovetails into our next question we came up.
Yeah, I always use Lindsay as the positive example. So then when I ask her how I did, she's like, "You did great. You're saying nice things about me." So yeah, if I
Amazing.
ever use her as a bad example, I didn't like that one so much. That was bad coaching, Mike.
You did amazing. Yeah, good little trick there. That is a trick.
Hey, Clean Nation, Mike Campion here. One of my least favorite things about these podcasts are we found that people love the show and they love the information, but when I talk to you guys in person, stuff doesn't get done. People love the podcast, but they don't take any action. If you'd like to actually implement this and get this done in your world, we have a whole team of people that do exactly that. If you go to growmycleaningcompany.com/talk, you can book a time with either myself personally or one of our teammates to at least help you come up with a plan to actually implement and change your life. So if you want to go from getting these good ideas in your head to getting them in your life, just book a free call with myself or my team, growmycleaningcompany.com/talk, and we can go from this one-to-many format to one-to-one and really get you some results. Excited to talk.
This is a great follow-up question from Raina, who I believe it was last week or maybe the week before, we were helping her through some issues with her employees not being A+ cleaners. And she had a follow-up question, which I thought was great. She said, Mike says to build a culture people want to be a part of. So here's what she's doing, Mike. She's doing the monthly parties. She can't really get people to show up to them, though. She's giving weekly recognition. She's bringing treats into in-person meetings. She's giving bonuses for Google mentions, late shift pickups, tons of stuff. She's basically doing everything she can to build her culture, and it's just not happening. She wants to know, what else do I have to do?
It's a really thoughtful, I'm digging Raina because I'm like, why are we always doing Raina's question? Because she's had 2 or 3, but
Good.
she's earned her way onto the spot. These are
Yeah.
really, really good thoughtful questions, Raina. Proud of you. I'm saying nice things to Raina because she may not like me after this. The one thing I'm guessing, and again, I'm going to do the best I can to give feedback from my experience based on the very limited information I have. What I'm seeing is we probably have the wrong people. So with Lindsay and the team, I try to do nice things and make them feel good, and we have a ton of fun, and they're super responsive because they're the right people. But when you've got the inmates running the asylum and you've got mercenaries, not missionaries, you've got people that are just there for a paycheck, you can do all you want, but they're just going to take advantage. Like I was talking with one of our clients, Patty, on the podcast that will be released before or after this. I'm not sure how it'll be. If it's released before this, check out the podcast with Patty, Bachile. And she was talking about clients that she had to raise prices on, and some of them were actually mad and yelled at her, like just really crappy people. And it's one of those things where you're like, I'm not sure if you're the right client or not. And then you raise prices instead of going, oh, I appreciate you want to charge differently. We can't afford it. And I'm so sorry. Best of luck. Like, that's a human. How dare you? Are you at, like, we didn't get into what they said, but they yelled at her. And it's like, that's a crazy person. So I'm sure Patty could have lowered prices and they would have found a way to be pissed. And she said, these are the guys and gals that complain the most about the service. So they're the wrong person. So Patty could come to me and go, I do everything for them. I'm this, I'm that. It's like, yeah, but they're the wrong person. If the old story about it was flooding and the scorpion and the frog's going across. Scorpion's like, take me across. And the frog's like, no, you're going to sting me. He's like, I'm going to die. I need to, why would I sting you? I give you my word. I'm not going to sting you. Please save my life. And the frog's like, kind, get on the back. And he gets him over and the scorpion stings him. And he's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm a scorpion. Like, it's what I do. So when you've got employees that are just in it for themselves and aren't a core values match and they just care about themselves, frankly, more than anything else, including the team, you can do whatever you want. That's the wrong people, right? So let's just go over the things that you're doing. We'll talk about each. So first is monthly parties, which I can't get people to come to. That could be one of 2 things, one of 3 things. One is consistency. You got to build a habit. So the first party is very usual for no one to come to, right? And then what happens is people get discouraged. So they only do it every 3rd month. So if they're inconsistent, it's just not going to happen, right? And it can take months to get built up because it might take 6 months. That's only 6 parties, right? So you got to look at it as a long-term thing. You can't do 1 or 2 and be like, everyone sucks. It sucks. I quit. So consistency is one of them. 2, they got to be fun, right? Like, there should be no work. It's really just, we're going to spend time with each other and enjoy each other. Fun. So maybe there's 12 people on my team and me and Lindsay and Jackson are the only ones that show up. If they leave and we talk about it, it was oh my gosh, so much fun. And we take pictures, we post one thing and everyone's talking about it, we'll have more people next time. But if we're all just sitting there awkwardly at dinner staring at each other, like then we might have ourselves a problem, right? So A, you got to be consistent. B, it's got to be something that they really want to do. That's a lot of fun. It doesn't have to be expensive, like just really time together. And then C, you've got to have the right people, right? If they don't give a crap, they're just not going to come. So the parties work 100% of the time, but they got to be consistent. You got to have the right people. You got to make it fun for them. Weekly and even more so recognition. And I bring treats to our in-person meetings. So great. At the weekly meetings, they should be valuable, right? If no one wants to come, it's like, what are we doing, right? If maybe you're giving too much recognition, where if they're giving all the time, maybe we just give, not that you can't ever recognize people, but kind of limit it to the party and make sure there's information that's valuable when we do core values conversations. Like, hey, Lindsay, I caught you the other day. My wife just took a picture of a video of a raccoon and sent it to me. And I'm like, did you send it to Lindsay? And of course, Lindsay has seen it way before it was me. That's so fun. And Lindsay's so real, but just being a nerd. And if I just brought that up, like, it makes me happy that you know my wife and my wife loves you and you're real towards her. And like, you're not just like an employee, like we're all friends. And I love that about you, Lindsay. That would be a sincere comment I could give to her in front of a group at a weekly meeting. Lindsay's going to want to come to that, right? Like, and other people are going to want to come, be like, I love Lindsay. So just make sure the weekly meetings are valuable and they're consistent. Giving them bonuses for Google mentions, late shift pickups, passing quality checks. Some of those are okay, but like passing quality checks, that's not a bonus. That's called doing your job, right? So we got to make sure. It sounds like the inmates are running the asylum, right? So I'm guessing, believe it or not, Raina, this is a hiring funnel problem, not a culture problem. If I could only interview 2.5 people for Lindsay's position, the likelihood I get a Lindsay is like 1 in 1,000. Now, as much as I love Lindsay, as unique as she is, if I could interview 1,000 people for her position, the likelihood I get a Lindsay is like 99.99%, right? So if you don't have a good hiring funnel, you got a bunch of knuckleheads in there. They know you need them way more than they need you, and they act accordingly. So believe it or not, Raina, I believe it's the foundation of core values problem. And the core values problem is really having fuel on the fire because there's not a hiring funnel that has more qualified people coming in than you need every month. So all that stuff is great, but the biblical story would be you're casting your pearls to the dogs, right? Like, and they'll or to the pigs, and the pigs trample them. So Lindsay's like catching me on, like, no, it's not dogs, it's pigs. She gave me the ICU. So that's kind of what you're, and again, please don't hear me calling your employees pigs. That is not the point of this. But again, pigs don't know what pearls are and they will just trample them. And you're really giving all the love and attention to people that can't receive it or don't give a crap and aren't responsive. And they're just taking more. So you could give all you want, get the right people, have a good hiring funnel, really work on the culture. And you're doing the right things, just probably for the wrong people. Let's get the right people with an upgraded hiring funnel. Hopefully that's helpful. I know that's kind of a long sure, Raina was like, can you just tell me, like, hold the monthly parties here and here's the, like, looking for the magic. It's like, I wish there was one, but I'd rather give you a right answer that's a little more complex than lip service that sounds easy and ain't going to change anything.
Definitely. All right. We got time for one more. I'm going to take it to the live chat. Love our live chat people. Cynthia asks, how do I make sure that I am pricing right? I do post-construction. I believe I have been lowballing my business.
All right. Today's the day Mike makes all the enemies. What's this fine person's name?
Cynthia.
Cynthia, thank you for tuning in. Please try not to hate me completely after this, but I only coach the hard stuff out of love because I want to see you win, not for any other reason. I wouldn't recommend doing any post-construction at all. I like to hearken post-construction as to Vegas, but with net 30 terms. Like you make a bid and maybe it works and maybe it doesn't. It's just, there's so many variables. You have to do all the work of selling. Just like you're saying, there's so many things wrong with it. You don't get paid in advance. You have to bid every time and you don't know what you're going to walk into. It's really hard on the staff. Hey, I need you guys for like 60 hours over the next week and then nothing for 2 weeks. And hopefully we'll get another job a week from never. And there's just so many things that are yucky with it. People are really attracted to it because it's easy work to get, right? But the example I use is I went into the grocery store and asked a bunch of ladies to marry me or run off to Vegas with me. The one, if I asked, Lindsay's married, obviously, and so am I, but if we were both single and I tried to get her to run away to Vegas with me, I'm probably gonna have a hard time because she's not a goddamn psychopath. But if I'm like, hey, stranger, want to run to Vegas? And she has no questions, like, absolutely. Might be, maybe it's the wrong date. Maybe the fact that they're easy to get is not always an indicator that they're the date that you want for whatever we're doing. So things like post-construction, move in, move out cleanings are easier to get because typically they're newer people to the business that don't know how to price. So the people, and then when they do it, they realize how difficult it is. So they either quit doing it pretty quickly. And then there's a lot of churn in that business because they go out of business or they stop doing it or they realize how hard it is and charge more. And then people know that there's someone new coming in. It's just it's a meat grinder, right? So that's just not where I want to do business. So I wouldn't even know how to put all the things that make it hard to price it are many of the reasons I wouldn't even play with it because there's just so many variables that you can't control. Oh, we did the thing and then we cleaned it and then another contractor came in because he was late and then he made a mess and whose thing is that? And then we were supposed to get paid, but now it's not 30 and you got to come back because we're not happy. And then the contractor went out of business. It's just too much. And again, people like it because can you do a $16,000 post-construction or $100,000? Yes, you can, but you call it $100,000 one, say you price it right. Do you want to do $50,000 in free labor and hope you get paid in a month or two and they don't complain? Okay. So not the answer you're probably looking for, but I wouldn't price them would be the short, easy answer. Thank you for tolerating my preaching, Cynthia. All right. Any follow-up on that or any reeling me in before we wrap it, Lindsay?
No, I don't see any angry emojis from anyone in chat. So I think for like the time being. So that's all I got, Mike.
All right, Cleaning Nation, really appreciate the heck out of you. If you need any help, feel free. We've got a ton of free resources, growmycleaningcompany.com. Check out the Facebook group, Instagram, say hey to Bruno. Reach out anytime. We're here for you. Thanks for hanging with us. We'll talk soon. Hey, Cleaning Nation, if you dug the content you just got, we don't do any ads and I don't sell anything on this podcast, but if you would just subscribe, rate, and review, it would be huge and I'd be so appreciative. Not only is it going to help me, but you'll help other owners of cleaning companies across the world work less, make more, and get profitable. So if you appreciate the value we give, again, subscribe, rate, and review. It would mean the world to me. I'd really appreciate it. And we sure appreciate your time and attention.